people watching from Japan who are interested in what high school students are like in New York City, and also interested in what it's like for New York City youth to hear the stories of survivors from Hiroshima, because the US remains the only country to use nuclear weapons in war. And I'm sure you all know, even if we don't study it, it's just intuitive that in war, who is fighting each other? Soldiers or, combatants, people who are targeting each other, usually are soldiers and soldiers, or combatants and combatants. They're the ones that are fighting wars. But what happens when a nuclear weapon is used? Do you think that they can discriminate between a small child and a soldier? No, because nuclear weapons target entire cities. And for this reason, they are seen to be illegal under the international laws of warfare. But still, we have people, we have countries that support the development of nuclear weapons. And currently in our world, there are 9 countries that have roughly 23,000 nuclear weapons between them, and a few countries who seem to be interested in developing their own arsenals. So what we're going to do today is explore what that problem means. I'm going to do a very brief introduction, which will be participatory with you. And then you're going to hear from Reiko YAMADA, who is a survivor from Hiroshima. She's going to give you her first-hand witness of what happened on August 6th, 1945 at 8:15 in the morning. This is really like a person is walking out of your history textbook and sitting amongst you. This is such an extraordinary honor and privilege. And I'm sure that if you all choose to have children someday, and when your children go to school, they will learn about this event in history. And you can say to them, I met a survivor from Hiroshima, and this is what she told me. So what we're offering you is an opportunity to become guardians of this story, because the Hibakusha are getting old and dying, and with them goes their first-hand witness. So it's going to be up to us, the people who have heard the testimony direct from the survivors to their ears. It's going to be up to us to remember and tell the story on their behalf. So not only do we have Reiko-san from Hiroshima here, but we are also very privileged to have Dr. Cynthia Miller. And she is a child of one of the engineers at the Manhattan Project. Anyone know what the Manhattan Project is? Tell me.
Oh, it's the project where they tested Trinity.
Exactly. So that's where the Trinity test happened. It came out of that project. It was the secret nuclear weapons development project that happened in New Mexico. And the world's first nuclear weapons were developed by a team of international scientists in the United States. So we're going to hear from Cynthia about what it was like growing up as a child of the Manhattan Project. So we have a child of Hiroshima, we have a child of the Manhattan Project at that time, but today, who they are courageous women, really warriors for peace, and using their voices and their vulnerability to share with you their story. So before my brief interactive exercise, I want to introduce Reiko-san and Cynthia.
皆様こんにちは。私は今日皆様方に一つの原子爆弾がどのように街を壊して人民がどのように殺されるか皆様にお知らせしたいと思ってまいりました。
Hello everybody, today I'm just here to share my stories and to let you know about what one atomic bomb can do to people and to due to city, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Cynthia Miller, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you. And I'll be talking about radiation and my experiences. So thank you.
Okay, so let's just start with a little game, because it's after lunch. Some of you look kind of sleepy. So let's start with a little game to show how many different talents, ideas, and opinions and knowledge there are and is in this room. So, and I think you all know how this goes. Stand up if you are a Yankees fan. Yankees fan. Okay. Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, stand up if you are, what is it, the Knicks?
Nah, I don't like that.
No basketball?
No, basketball.
Okay, stand up if you like basketball.
I like basketball.
Okay, thank you. Stand up if you play a musical instrument. Okay. Stand up if you speak more than one language. Okay, stand up if you enjoy cooking. Okay, stand up or raise your hand if you enjoy eating. Stand up or raise your hand if you enjoy sleeping. Okay, just don't do it in this session. Okay, now stand up or raise your hand if you can tell me any country that has nuclear weapons. Okay, France. Okay, just shout it out.
United States.
United States, France, Russia, UK, India, Pakistan.
Virginia.
China, North Korea, and there's one more. Israel. Okay, very good, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent. South Africa used to have nuclear weapons, but they disbanded their small nuclear force right around the time that Nelson Mandela came into power. So that was two very excellent things that happened to South Africa, for South Africa. So the 9 countries that have nuclear weapons, can anybody guess roughly how many nuclear weapons there are in the world? So the total number of all those 9 countries, anybody know? 23,000. You guys have been preparing. Excellent. Did I say that earlier? Okay, well, you can tell I've been teaching a lot today. 23,000 nuclear weapons between those 9 countries. Can anybody stand up or raise their hand if they know which 2 countries have the most of those 9? The U.S. and Russia. Because why?
Because money.
Because money, because it was the nuclear arms race that happened for many, many years. And the Cold War. So here's something that might be interesting. Is the Cold War over? Yes? Berlin Wall fell. So many people said that when the Berlin Wall fell, the Cold War was over. So, but still today, I find this very interesting and somewhat terrifying. There are around 2,500 nuclear hair trigger alert, ready to launch in 2 to 5 minutes. And those 2,500 nuclear bombs are owned by which countries, do you think?
US.
And where do you think they're pointing? They're pointing at each other. Don't you find that odd? So that's one thing that few people know about, but you all clearly know about. We need to de-alert those weapons that are on hair trigger alert. Because who do you think, and raise your hand, let me hear from you, who do you think looks after those weapons that are on hair trigger alert? The military, controlled also by the government, and any kind of machines you think are involved? The button, people talk about pushing the button. So these weapons that are on hair trigger alert pointed towards old Cold War coordinates, Russia, United States, are basically under the watch, 24-hour watch of human beings. Do we make mistakes?
Yes.
And they're also under the technological watch of computers, which are also prone to accident. So this is just part of the wider story of nuclear weapons today that it's important for us to remember and to engage with. Okay, I want to ask you guys to do group exercise. It's going to take 2 seconds, or 2 minutes rather. And I know you're all, it's towards the end of the day, and but please participate. This is a very nice little exercise. What I'd like you to do is turn to the person next to you or find a partner. And just for 2 minutes, and I'll ring a little bell when the 2 minutes are up. Just for 2 minutes, I want you to share with each other what it is that you love about being alive. Being alive. Hold on. Let me give you a little more instruction. Hold on a minute. Hang on a minute. I want you to, when you share what it is that you love about being alive, be as specific as possible. For example, don't just say food. Say the kind of food that you love. If you love your family, say something about your family member that you're thinking about that you love, okay? And after the 2 minutes, just go back and forth. It's a really short exercise, but after those 2 minutes, I'd like to have some volunteers to share with the wider group, okay? Okay, 2 minutes. Please share with one another.
My money will just die. Look at exploring, traveling. You love food.
experiencing new changes from since I was born to now, and being able to travel a lot.
Excellent. Any particular place you love to travel to?
Dubai, London, Paris, and my home country, Ghana.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's have another volunteer, please. Let's have another volunteer. I can't believe such chatty people are sitting in the sunshine. Let's have another volunteer, just one more.
I love my brother and my family and my friend.
I love you.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Come on, you guys. She wants to say something.
Say you love music.
Go on.
I love you, love you.
Sure.
She loves me and waking up in the morning.
The fact that we get to have free education and being able to do like living out here, because like people in Africa, they don't have opportunities and stuff like that. So we have it here, so.
Okay, well, you might wonder why we start by asking people to think about what they love about being alive, when we're going to talk about nuclear weapons and nuclear power. So we are hearing a lot of people love their family, they love to cook, they love to read, they love the opportunities that they're getting in the school, they love their teachers. These are all things that inspire us and help us grow. Oh dear, chair just broke. Are you okay? Yeah. Are you okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me please have your attention. Let me please have your attention because I'm going to pass over to our honored guests, and I know that you want to give them your undivided attention. So why we start with what we love about being alive is because everything that we love is threatened by the existence of nuclear weapons and nuclear power. So this is not an abstract issue. As we said earlier, this is like real living beings walking out of the pages of your history book. But the history book that we're talking about is the history book of your life and the future that you are being given. Because unfortunately in our world today, we still have nuclear weapons, though the Cold War is over. And we also have increasing dangers with nuclear power, and particularly a very big nuclear accident that's continuing to happen right now. Has anybody here heard of Fukushima? Yeah. Fukushima? Do you want to say something? So Fukushima Daiichi is the name of a nuclear reactor complex in the northeast of Japan. A year ago, what happened in Japan?
Earthquake.
Big earthquake and tsunami. And this earthquake and tsunami also destroyed the cooling system of the reactors. There were 3 nuclear meltdowns. And right now, irradiated fuel is in a very, very vulnerable situation that could risk further and huge radiological contamination across the northern hemisphere. We're already finding the footprint from Fukushima in the United States. It has traveled across the Pacific Ocean and across the lower 48 states of our country. So these aren't abstract things. These are things that are happening now. They're happening in our lives. And we feel there is a moral responsibility to equip young people with the critical tools, with the thinking to understand the world that you're being given. And we don't like to think of ourselves as anti-nuclear. We like to think of ourselves as becoming guardians of the nuclear age. Nuclear weapons are clearly immoral. They cannot distinguish between combatants and non-combatants, soldiers and children, as we just discussed. Nuclear power is something that human beings increasingly are realizing that they cannot control. So it's really important for you guys to understand what these problems are so that you can choose how you want to be in the world that is being bequeathed to you. Are you guys with me? Okay. So I understand that you already had this BB demonstration from Yolanda, your wonderful teacher who you love. And I want to ask very, very quickly before we move on, if anyone can tell me the 3 unique elements of a nuclear explosion. What's unique about it? It's huge, it's big. It creates a zone of disaster, like firestorms. This is a fire that's so hot that it actually sucks the oxygen out of the atmosphere and it feeds itself. So a standard nuclear weapon today would cause a firestorm of a 50-mile radius. So we're talking from the middle of Manhattan into the tri-state area. Okay, anybody else? Huge flash creates massive heat, creates fire, and incredible wind, beyond hurricane-force wind that crashes buildings and destroys structures. And what else? What's the other very unique thing about nuclear weapons? It releases radiation. And radiation does what? It increases the cause of cancer, birth defects. It really messes with the cellular structure, the genetic structure of life. So when a nuclear bomb explodes, it creates death and devastation on an immediate level through fire and blast. But through the radiation, the destruction hangs around for, in the case of some radioactive materials, like plutonium, a raw material for nuclear weapons, that hangs around for hundreds of thousands of years. So we're talking about the increase in cancer and genetic mutation for hundreds of thousands of years into the future from one point in time, one explosion, the splitting of the atom, and the use of nuclear weapons. So some people say using nuclear weapons is like waging war on future generations. This is important for you all to understand. It's important for all of us to understand. And as we listen to the stories today, let's keep to the forefront of our thinking those things and people that we love, so that when we hear these stories, we can understand that our desire to create a nuclear-free world comes from what we love and what we ourselves want to save and protect. And when you hear Reiko's story, think about that fire and those destructive forces and the radiation, because that's what she survived. And I'm, for one, am hugely grateful that she survived, because this woman has seen hell on earth, and she has come through with her humanity intact. And it's such a privilege and an honor for us to be able to hear her witness and share in her story. So